use this. Now we're doing sound art.
Can you hear me? Pretty well, I bet. I've been doing art for 10 years. Graduated UCSC 2003 in philosophy. I almost got through the electronic music minor, but I missed that music 14 class. But Peter Elsie, the guy in charge, said, don't worry, it's just a piece of paper. Because what's going to get you art commissions, residencies, it's just a long list of cool stuff you've done. First, I'm going to show you the AVIs. In Denim, you got a laser cutter. You can cut stuff, anything. These are intermittent cogs that are missing teeth. You need to see a dentist. If they interact with each other and some of them are missing teeth, then they have a kind of like a pseudo-emotional, pseudo-intelligent, uncontrollable, like indeterminate. Like, what's it going to do next? Like, well, count the teeth. And these cogs of teeth just, disseminate kinetic force. It's pretty cool. There's a spring holding the head counter to the cogs that builds up tension, and then when there's missing teeth, then it can unfurl. So how many pieces is this? This is just a Adobe Illustrator file, and just like 30 pieces. Oh, and I got like 50 videos to show you. This is the drivetrain. These are in every single car. You hardly know it anymore, but you need these to do synchronized motion of various rotational fulcrums. There's a video that shows what it can do sooner or later. Here's some early art. You just happen to have like 40, 50 keyboards that were decommissioned from some faceless corporation that just wanted an upgrade. I just buy them from a bulk lot and zip tie them together onto a giant hamster wheel. People love this stuff. You go to college, you need this stuff out on the foyer so that you can, have like a social experience. Oh yeah, here's what the drivetrain can do. It's a bunch of vacuum-formed modular masks. So I found this plastic that it's kind of like licorice or taffy, so you can vacuum form it where you heat it up and then vacuum suck it onto a form. And so these forms were originally clay. And so this dude sort of commissioned by the theater department, but I won't go into why it wasn't even in the show or even made any sense to him. But yeah, it's squeak art too. You can't hear it, but it's squeak art. Really rusty. Oh yeah, and it's a turn crank. It's all about human participation. People go into an art room and like everything's happening. Like a small new or like a small new world or It's Small World After All. It's like already happening. All you have to do is observe it. You really want to interact with it, say the art's because of you. This is a bunch of broken mirrors, selectively broken to be parallel planes. And they were resin casted in two specific times. Turn it on its side, resin the bottom of it. Once that's cured, turn it over, resin the bottom of it. And I use clay to hold the troughs or the casting zones where the resin goes. And if you ever do resin art or casting art, it's kind of fun because the stuff will start spilling out of any leak, any physical leak. Everything will fall out of it. So you have to watch your stuff while you're making it because usually it's a little game of triage, fixing things that are breaking while you're making them. Oh yeah, and this particular video can turn anything into a really interesting experience. There happens to be a geodesic sphere that's about 10 feet tall, 8 feet tall in the background. You might be able to see it. There's a trash can. And this is light art. The sun hits it, and then all of a sudden you get these kind of like solar array Japanese flag things on the wall. This is meticulously constructed bikini thong using a bunch of vinyl flaps that were left around the college campus because they were putting in new pipes, and then they have these flaps on the pipes to keep out the rats. And so it's like, hey, construction dudes, that's a lot of raw material. Thanks. I asked for half of it, took the other half. And then all these Franz lenses embedded in it, meticulously sewn into it. I don't think there's any glue. It's just sewing and vinyl. Those are all Frenzel lenses, which are inside of overhead projectors. I picked up like 20 overhead projectors, Elmo brand out of LA, like Paramount School District. Like $80 for 20 overhead projectors. Original price, like $2,000. Old stuff, easy to get. And you'll notice that when the light hits the Fresnel lenses, it really destroys the camera's ability to perceive light. It makes these irrational streaks. So this video happens to be a little bit of a digital art piece, or at least it's dialoguing with digital limitations of what can video do? Play a light that's too big for the highest form of light in a computer, which is like 255, 255, 255. What's it going to do? Yeah, so this only lasted for like a day on campus because a lot of people have iPhones these days, and this thing's like a death trap because it's like a tripwire at night. It's just staked into the ground. Groundskeepers and me go way back because I do kind of like guerrilla art when I was going to community college. Just put it up, hope that it stays up. If people like it, it stays up longer, or if it doesn't pose any immediate strangulation concern, then it's kind of fun. You don't necessarily need a commission or need to get documentation, but it's all about safety. Because if you see something out there that's not safe, it doesn't matter how beautiful it is. Here's a little piece that's like electronic pins that once you rotate it, each pin in front of each light is hitting that piece of steel wool, which is electrified. Electrified steel wool can hold a pretty good voltage, but it'll start burning if you ask too much of it. And then this is a stencil art. So I screen printed, drew all these pictures, and then screen printed the opposite of it so that a gel embedded behind the black painted plastic converts the LED into the art. And you have to use this like diffusion ice crystal plastic that they always use to cover fluorescent light containers in the ceiling. So I do a lot of concentric art because it's pretty powerful what rotations can accomplish. This is from my era of community college when I was enjoying property auctions, and so I just get hundreds of speakers, hundreds of keyboards, laser printers, fax machines, subwoofers. Each thing, and there's a couple kids' toys in there. Each thing has a negative space, like the buttonholes. So I would just collect. I'd use a tile saw, a wet saw, usually used for tile, to just fraction out all of the interesting negative spaces within consumer electronics. And then these two characters, the Falcon and the Samurai, are just metal armatures, and then you just kind of zip tie things together. So, is zip tie fine art? Well, if it's plastics that you're zip tying together, probably. This is what my first Denim show looked like. It was an AV cart extravaganza. This is an old piece of light art. That's just a grid of lights that's controlled by this resin-casted grouping of nails, and you just touch electricity to the nails, and then it starts the associated light. This is a board game I made. It's pretty analog. It's just got like every single picture has maybe like 40 or maybe like 300 different diodes that are routing energy to those specific lights per that specific state. So there's 10 pictures. You write around the circumference of the game, and you get different scene. And then this is a mechanical random number generator. It's actually just a piece of copper that has lines all going towards the center cut out so that there's all these different conductive zones. And then you just run a pin that's electrified around all those zones, and it sends electricity to whichever one it's touching. So the cool thing about electronics, or even in this case like motors controlling mechanical things, is that if something's happening faster than you can control, it's for as good intentions and purposes as necessary. It's a random number generator. It's got to stop somewhere. Hard to say where. Okay, so those are the ABIs. Let's head into the MOVs. Circuit design is a tough thing. It's easier just to say I don't care about the theory and just take all the pictures of circuits that exist out there if you want to do like a flashing design or a sequencing design or a sound amplifier. That little purple thing is where the chip goes. You just pop the chip in, and if you follow all the instructions, send electricity to all the right parts, then you get a circuit. Let's start that over. You get a functional diagram. So this is a piece of software I made in Max MSP, which is this cool program they might teach you in the art department with Elliot Anderson and Zach Watkins over in the music department. It's modular programming for the artist, so you don't necessarily need to know anything about code. You just need to know how to play with Tinker Toys or Legos, and maybe like some functional logic understanding. But anyway, this is a user interface I invented myself to make circuits. The cool thing about it that I want you to notice is that every once in a while, not only am I placing things, but I'm just tweaking the random points that are already on the board. So there's different modes. You know, say you're holding down Shift, the modifier key sends like your command to a different type of like action. So it's pretty fun making your own software because, you know, who wants to just keep downloading new versions of Photoshop? This is four-dimensional transforms of pottery I do. The whole concept is you put a piece of pottery on a turntable and rotate it, take a nice video of it, and then you take 7-second video of a perfect concentric rotation, and then you put content from every single one of those frames, say like 600 frames, in every single one of the new frames. So you take 7 seconds of video and you turn it into this new 7 seconds, which is kind of like slice and dice. And you can get these cool transforms. And it's all about similar principle as the rotoscope. If something is periodic, if you're going to see the same thing over and over again, like if for the rolling of a car tire, high speeds, it might start looking like it's going backwards. It might start looking like it's not moving at all. So yeah, video transforms. The cool thing I did at Denim last year, this is like the first year of my Denim experience, was I invented some boots that had angle grinders on them. And I'm sitting on a throne that has a bunch of like analog effects pedals and then a bunch of like a glockenspiel set of heavy metals for my feet to hit against. So I'll give you a tidbit of the in-focus video, if you can see the setup. And then I've got some like analog feedback stuff going on for video feed. This whole room was wired like days in advance for where the cameras were and stuff. But every once in a while, you know, if you ever do chroma experiments or chroma keying, replacing like all that is dark with another video, and you put two videos together, you can get some pretty cool effects with light. And then the whole concept of feedback in this case is I got my mixer, and then I take the output of the mixer and put it back into the input of the mixer and turn it up. And if you do that to a sound mixer, it's going to make a very scary sound. If you do that to a video mixer, it's going to do something. It's got to do something. So the trick is you take S video out, which is a little different than normal video. It's got luminosity, and it's also got chroma in 2 different signals. So if you just take one of those and say, hey phono in, this is what you want. And the phono in will try to adapt as best it can, make some cool output. But yeah, light art. Welders, you know, they do so much angle grinding. They're doing so much light art every day. They hardly even notice. Here's some kinetic art that I made. It's you can't see the actual sculpture, but you can see that someone's hands are touching it. It's a column of steel reeds, and each steel reed is in a checkerboard configuration, so that like all the black ones in the checkerboard are negative voltage, all the white ones in the checkerboard are positive voltage. And then once they touch against each other, it's set up meticulously so that once they touch, they get what they need. They complete their circuit. So it turns a sound sculpture into a light sculpture. Here's an example of a circuit board, and all those little nodes of solder are where a diode is telling this machine to, you know, it doesn't know what it's doing. It's just doing what I think is cool to do. So each one of those vertical strips is the instructions for those particular diodes to make that particular visual representation of numerical stuff. But if this is like the launching board, like once you do this, then you can start doing diode boards that will make art, you know? That was the board game right in the beginning. I wanted to show you this. You can't hear it right now, but this is an oscilloscope. Oscilloscope just reads the electronic state of a signal. So you can send sound into an oscilloscope. You're going to get just the raw data visualized. And I'm just playing around with the knobs here, and I'm changing like how many times per second I'm going to look at the data of the sound. And probably the coolest thing I've done in Denim, and the area of art that I'm going into most is resonance and cymatics, because you know, sound and light are interchangeable. In 2008, I went to New York to do this pretty cool presentation for HarvestWorks. It's a new media foundation out there. And I made light sculptures, which are all these casted rods of nails on resin, and then meticulously wired with a matrix of lights. And then on the bottom, you just wear a copper glove, copper taffeta. It's like a nylon spandex. And then so you got a sculpture that you're touching with your hand, just like those like the pin cushions you get at the science store that show you like the impression of your hand based on the offset of all the nails. But it's for light. And this is another sculpture I told you about a second ago. how there's just like this array of really small little finishing nails, and then I'm just running over them with a little electronic baton to say which light's on. And this particular software, they love software. Before Connect was out, like everyone was just chasing the dream of making their own visual recognition computer system. They have lots of master's degrees and PhDs, where all that the scientists are really doing is just knowing like how blinky those lights really are. And this is another electronic sculpture. You see there's a metal plate that's rotating. That was screen printed with cellular automata, kind of like a flare design. You can see the reflections of it. But all it's doing is, say like 18 pins right there are touching the light record player in a concentric fashion, such that it's like 16 rows, 16 concentric circles. And I've got a video feedback mechanism that's taking the lowest, or it's taking the whole matrix up there, the upper part, and pushing it up every frame, so that you get maybe like the last 10 frames of content. So all you need is one light strip, and then the computer itself can finish it and can like put you in delay. So you hardly need to do that much work. Just give the computer something to chew on. But I'm a future primitivist, so I really like old technology, new technology. In this case, I'm working with slave machines. We have all these machines that are specifically just to go to work. Like here's a Sawzall, reciprocating saw. 99% of all reciprocating saw purchases are people that maybe they're lower class, middle class, but they have to work. So these machines are for work. But it's all about appropriation. Like this industry that makes all these tools, it's making such powerful mechanisms. And then you go over to the science profession, and then you have to pay like a couple $100,000 for a table that shakes, like a physical oscillator. But this $20 reciprocating saw does that all great. Sorry I can't show you the sounds, but yeah, I set up some more glockenspiels, set up some rototoms, and I gutted a piano, angle grinded half of it out so that you just get like the higher octaves. So yeah, another performance piece. This was the MFA show last year, closing out Denim, and there's some light sculptures in the room, other artists on display. Yeah, so social art. Lucky thing about Denim is they really wanted to create a social community around the art that they facilitate. So this is a funny video. Looked up on YouTube back in 2008, like how to make a light table, and then some guy's like, his video consisted solely of putting blue water inside of a bag, and then putting it on a glass table, putting a video camera under it, and then just touching it. Too fast. So I did that, and then wrote a little bit of visual algorithm to recognize it. Convert it to sound, convert it to sight. Put it on YouTube. I got like 24,000 views. Best thing I ever did, I suppose, according to them. And then they turned it into like an advertising routine. I got like $7 for that video over a period of 2 years. Don't even bother. Send that video to HarvestWorks and get like a $3,000 residency. So yeah, cut out the middleman. Some more community college stuff. After finishing my philosophy degree, I had to go back to community college. It's where you enjoy life. So I was the foundry technician, just like self-appointed. They have a sculpture program. It's like, hi, you don't have welding gear. Hi, I'm going to buy some welding gear for you. It's now the final project for the class. So it worked out great. And this is pretty cool. It's a little bit subversive because this is a purchased surplus of police light bars. So it's just a reconfiguration of maybe like 20 police light bars. I was going for like a DNA aesthetic where it's like a upward and downward sending spirals. This is some older work. Picked up this originally before it was rectified. It was a light board for telling junior hires how many points they had in the football game, like a basketball game. Totally cut that up and turned it into what I call the agua quatrefoil. And this particular sculpture, most of the people that make these around campus, they need microcontrollers, they need computers, how many gigabytes is your visualizer? This is just a Rubbermaid container with some holes cut in it and some aluminum foil and salt water. And I'm just rotating the bowl around like this, and it's causing electricity to move to all the different parts of the sculpture. This is what I call bubble processing. If you play Adobe Illustrator, you know that there's vector conversion. You can take any picture and, for better or for worse, convert it into a polygon, a set of polygons. But there's thousands of ways, as many ways as creativity can provide, to convert the analog world into the digital world. So this particular one is about dropping geometric rain on a picture and then like each circle, when it falls, it tries to find its most optimal position based on who's already there. And just FYI, you drop a circle on this and then you move it towards its first collision, and then you move away from that first collision, you get a second collision, and then you can do one more movement. You move to the side, like say like 2 points right here, you can move up. 2 points right here and move down. So you get 3 movements. You hit a circle hits 3 collisions and it's embedded. Can't do anything else. Oh, I wouldn't want you to miss this one. This is my favorite. I call it color sculpting. Just working with algorithms. This particular algorithm is draw a triangle, draw a square, draw a pentagon, draw a hexagon, draw a sectagon, draw an octagon, draw a decagon. Out to like the 20th, 30th, you know? And then put some pinches on it. You know what pinches are. You know, there's just a specific point on the picture that all the geometry has to go towards when you pinch it or expand from when you pull it. So there's 2 of those going on, 2 pinches. So you can get some like irrational effects. I'll browse through this a little bit. So one algorithm, just playing with it, you get teardrop, you get bat, you get, my favorite, you know, after you get like crawdad, it starts doing some weird stuff. And towards the end, I had to, you know, this is like my grasshopper zone. Towards the end, it just starts doing this. And, you know, once it gets kind of epic and you don't really know what's going on anymore, usually that's when I just say, okay, I'm done. Haven't opened this program since. So right towards the end, there's this really phenomenal, almost like fetus transition. You'll know what I mean. So it's right there. What is that? It's more than just geometry. It's like a crab that's got a telepathic link to an embryo. They have this pattern recognition system called Voronoi, and it's just an equation. Equations are pretty cool. If you can master an equation, just type it through the computer and make visual art instantaneously. So this is like a fractured version of it, but the whole concept is quite clear that any specific, you know, you set up any amount of points in a square, and then all those points have a bounding box that encompasses all the points that are their own more so than others. So this is trying to get there. Here's some early work, collision detection stuff, my forte. But all this is just the squares are growing, and then as soon as the squares' corners hit something else, they stop. So it's limited. I'll speed it up. Oops, speed it up. But there's this really great artist in the neoplasticism era that called Mondrian. And he'd spend days doing this kind of stuff. He'd just set up squares that kind of self-conclude themselves. And strangely enough, you can just tap on the computer a couple times with the right program running, and you can just regenerate lots of the works that were his life's accomplishments. Plus, you can play them backwards. A lot of times when you're just generating things inside of a computer, there's errors. You have a program, and say like of 100% of the states, 80 of them are appropriate, but there's still an error. The logic doesn't know what's going on the other 20%. This is I call it mitosis, which is kind of the opposite of what it is. It's just taking 2 polygons and trying to merge them into one. So there's some extra squares right at the intersection that are trying to discern what it means to be 2 polygons merging into one. It works sometimes. That's great. When it doesn't work, it's kind of messy. Hurts your eyes. I don't even need to tell you what this program is. It's just a generator. You got polygon circles. The polygons expand until they hit walls that they can no longer expand beyond. You can set up concentric circles that would grow like a perfect coil inside of a tree. Or just do kind of offset triangles. And then once the polygons are all formed, then you can just rotate their state, as long as you remembered the geometry because a lot of times people just work in bitmaps. You know, they're just drawing a picture, and all the picture is just how many pixels are on the screen. But stuff I do is beneath the screen. It's lists and lists of logic and just polygons, positions of these shapes. And so you can do transforms to those before you even take it out of the computer and look at it. Here's really early pattern recognition. I'd like to model these off of animals. So this one kind of reminds me of an ant that's eating the sugar. You know, it moves out and kind of like poops out such that it can't go to that position again. So just like a mushroom fairy ring, it's always going to expand out. You give it a symmetrical design, it'll do a perfect circle. But sometimes you give it a non-symmetrical design and you'll get some pretty cool output. This is more examples of chroma keying. You saw for just a second it was just blue and green. So those are the original chroma maps.